talk a little more about the 2010 summit and what it will bring. So on the 19th of June in 2008, as was already mentioned, Prime Minister Harper announced that Canada's 2010 G8 summit would indeed take place in Huntsville, Muskoka from June 25th to the 27th that year. At the same time that Harper announced the summit, he also announced his 3 themes, which John has already talked about: open markets and free trade, global warming, and freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. If we look to previous summits, one can infer that Canada's 2010 G8 will also cover issues such as the world economy, climate change, biodiversity, non-proliferation, and Africa, including issues such as development, peace support, and health. However, a number of other issues, such as G8 expansion, energy, and food security, could all appear as well. Certainly, this year's 2009 Italian G8 summit in La Maddalena, Sardinia, will also have an influence. What happens there will impact the themes and structure of the summit here in Canada. The leaders may initiate ministerial meetings or meetings of other G8 bodies between 2009 and 2010. This year, in the lead up to the summit in Italy, there will be meetings of finance ministers, one which already took place, labor and social policy ministers, agriculture ministers, environmental ministers, development ministers, energy ministers, ministers of justice and home affairs, science and technology ministers, and foreign ministers. A similar ministerial schedule will accompany Canada's summit as well. Perhaps in 2010, we will also have our first ever meeting of ministers of industry. At the 2009 summit, the leaders could decide some of the additional participants to be invited in 2010, including the additional countries of the Group of 5, which include China, India, Brazil, Mexico, and South Africa. It may also include other international organizations, such as the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, or the World Health Organization. And they will likely make commitments that will need to be met by the time Canada hosts the summit. And this will be in addition to 33 commitments that have already been made at G8 summits past over the past decade that are due to be fulfilled by 2010. These cluster in the areas of health, development, the environment, and peace support. These are small promises: universal access for HIV/AIDS treatment, the eradication of polio from the planet, reducing climate change emissions, reducing biodiversity loss, and they are all due in 2010, and unfortunately, at this point, it doesn't look good for most of them. But maybe they could meet some of them, if they really focus their attention. If you could pick 3, which one would you most like to see the government and the other 7 governments meet? The sheet that was handed out earlier lists the major commitments that are due in 2010. This is your chance to choose and to get involved in the summit. We would like you to pick your top 3. Just put the number beside the one you think are the most important. There's a section there as well if you think there is something else more pressing, you can write it in. But the ones on that list are the ones that the leaders have already committed to keeping. When you're done filling this out, I think we'll collect them at the front, so bring them with you as you head out for lunch.